I already told you about when I'm wrong, he says left. You already did that.
This is, for folks watching, we're interviewing Ben Moskalensky, and he's going to tell us some funny and embarrassing stories about Oleg. So go ahead, Ben.
Well, he really makes me laugh, obviously, because he's a dad and all. And
is that when he walks into a door or something like that?
No, it's none of that painful, funny stuff. I've never, not like when you're skateboarding and you slam into doors. That's just hilarious. He doesn't skateboard.
I think we need to see your dad actually do that now. Have you got a skateboard handy that you can put in the doorways to when he comes in he slips over on it?
Or a banana peel, perhaps?
No, no banana peels, but I remember one thing. Did you know that, let's see, that one time,
oh, he's coming in.
Uh-oh, don't say it now.
We're so busted. We are so busted.
Funny stories
yeah, I asked him to tell some funny and embarrassing stories.
You should have heard what he said about you.
Oh my goodness.
It's gone out public. It's gone out public.
Oh, here's one. One time I remembered we were in a restaurant, and he was eating some macaroni, okay? Here's where the funny part is. Maybe it wasn't macaroni, but something like that, with cheese and all. Something like that.
Something like that.
And then he said it was really spicy. He didn't go like, that'd just be funny.
Spicy macaroni?
Was it really macaroni or is it something?
Kind of looks a little weird. That is kind of funny.
Okay.
Is he used to Russian food, like British food that's real bland?
Oh, he's definitely, not the British part, but the Russian part, yes. And I make him laugh.
Go and get the skateboard. Put the skateboard in the doorway.
And the way we'll go something now.
Like one time when we were playing Mario Kart, one time when he beat me, there's a show called Phineas and Ferb, and there's a secret agent platypus named Perry, and the bad guy usually called him Perry the Platypus, so I called him, "Curse you, Perry the Platypus."
The way. Okay, very fun.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Ben. It was always a pleasure talking to you. We'll get more embarrassing stories later.
Did you see those comments on the stream last night? I think, was it last night you were doing, or yesterday afternoon for you, you were doing something, and you were talking about a shriek, and people were talking about a load of things, and then there was a kid jumping up on a bed, wasn't there, or something, with some headphones on. Did you see that last night in the Hangout?
Our Hangout?
Yeah, it's your Hangout. Yeah, there was, I was watching the YouTube bit, and on the comments it was going, LOL, the kid, and all this sort of stuff.
Oh, I missed that.
There was a, I don't know which account it was, but there was like a bed and a wall, and there was a kid with like brown hair, really little kid, probably about 3 years old or something, had these big headphones, was bouncing up on the bed and everything, and everybody was ignoring what everybody was saying, the adults, and just saying, "Oh, the kid's really funny."
That's funny. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I'll look at the comments and try to figure out where it is.
Yeah, it'll be on the time, I think, and then the account just like closed, but it must have been somebody you invited.
Well, what I'm doing for anyone watching, I just figured we would have a little conversation about whatever is going on interesting today, news or technology or whatever you guys want to talk about. So anybody found something interesting?
Yeah, but Robert Reddy's got a live hangout going on right now. We're watching his clock tick. I just put it in the chat room there.
His clock is ticking. Oh my God.
See, I was thinking about doing one with my new Presto Pizza Pizzazz thing. I was just going to cook a pizza in a hangout just to see what kind of crazy comments I got.
Well, I've got one. I've got a great topic about the Civil Wars, the band. Do you know about the Civil Wars?
No.
I will talk to you about it because it's very, very interesting, seriously.
Please, I'm listening.
And just for those people who are watching as well, there's a few text comments I've put which we're not talking about because I want to talk about it off air about that. No, the Civil Wars is a band, Joy Williams and John Paul White, you might have seen around, who have just got a couple of Grammys, and they work with Taylor Swift on the soundtrack of the what's it called? The Hunger Games. I was going to say the Hangout Games. That's probably something different. It was the Hunger Games, the movie, which is massive. Now, I got interested in that, and I was just looking like most people at the YouTubes, and I've shared some in my stream. Really cool music. Now, it's only the two of them and one guitar. And where the story picks up in terms of what we're talking about here is that they're not signed to a proper, record label. I know nothing about the music business, but to a proper record label, which means they can run out their own schedules and are doing these small gigs. But when they're being interviewed, and there's a load of interviews on YouTube full of it, they always reference Twitter and Facebook. Okay, and that's brilliant because I've got the data here, and it's something like they've got probably about 235 likes on Facebook, 17,000 talking about it, 115,000 followers on their main Twitter page, and then 42 and 29 respectively for the two of them. But here's the story. I'm thinking that they're attributing Twitter, they're attributing Facebook. They've got a really good YouTube channel, but if they came to Google Plus and even maybe started to hang out or whatever, then does that mean that Google Plus could actually benefit them as such? And I'm not talking about, the Lady Gaga and Britney Spears who just have an account, but I'm actually talking about actively using it, bearing in mind that they said that if they'd signed for a major record label, they'd have no free time. In other words, they'd be pushed and pushed and pushed to go wherever they want. And they said that they were doing all of their gigs, I'm sure like a lot of small bands, by, just tweeting it out or putting it on Facebook or something like that. So my question is I wonder if actively, one, they came to Google+, but if they did, as people rather than a page, I hope, that if they got that million followers or not million followers, but bear in mind it's a pretty creative place. So that's my topic anyway for today.
No, it makes sense, Mike. It makes sense, and there are some bands already on Google Plus that do performances, and I'm not talking about people like Daria Musk, which became a star on Google Plus, but I'm talking about people like there's some group, some R&B I think band, something with some numbers in it. I don't remember the name now, but they kind of came to the deal, and we were promoted and this and that. So no question. Then you had the big initial hangouts on air was done with I think Black Eyed Peas guy. Whatever his name is, William.
Will.i.am.
Will.i.am, right?
Yeah.
And so there's no question that kind of stuff, can be done, and
it's just whether they would need it. Yeah, whether
exactly.
they need it. They've got the Grammys, they've got Taylor Swift.
More notoriety by being on Google Plus? Probably not. He's already known enough, and same thing with people like Britney Spears and everything else. But I think what Google should do, in my opinion, is if you combine their Google Music offer to new upcoming artists where people can actually put their own music to sell on Google Music, combine that with Google Hangouts to do live concerts, that's something that I think any new upcoming musicians should definitely take advantage of because it's pretty inexpensive to get into it, and you're able to do HOA so you can actually record it, have it available on YouTube. And so basically in terms of technology, nobody's going to get as sophisticated in terms of their setup technology like you have. Based on the video you put out today about how
exactly, yeah, it took me a long time to produce that.
But for the you can't expect everybody to be that sophisticated, but they still can do. I think it would be pretty cool to have the a band that does the Google Music thing, so people can buy stuff there, and they do some live concerts combined with live interaction with some of their fans and things like that, which I think would be very worthwhile for musicians. And Google should push it. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody else has this.
Well, that's the thing. Is Google? I still don't know whether Google do step up because I put out a really rubbish slide, serious slide yesterday, but a rubbish one saying Google Plus, put out the features users list based on fun and interesting, travel, photography, news, those categories. And they're pretty bland and there's people in them. Then I looked at things like the subjects that we get taught at school, English, math, science, all that stuff. And then on Friday night I did or Friday earlier in the evening, for lunchtime for you, was Dr. Kiki Sanford from Twit TV, and we did a This Is Science talk and everything for an hour, and that was really good fun. And I'm thinking, what could actually be done where you teach people a bit of stuff, but actually look at it. Now, if you talk about the Civil Wars or, I don't know, famous people coming to hangouts, people get it, but to actually understand, like Daria Musk, I know Daria a little bit, but in terms of she's got nothing, she hangs out, and then a year later they see her get 1 million followers and a big video, and oh wow, she's at TED, wow, she's at in New York. But that lonely stuff, like how many artists can we count on here? Your Tim Currys and your Mike Sells and Cliff Roth, so all working and working away, and just need a break of whatever it is. But I think it's it's just the beauty, isn't it? You never know who's watching, you never know who's a hangout click away.
Yeah, you got people watching Ben's show. Who would have thought? But, they are.
I know, some people watch that.
See, he is listening. I just want to make sure he's listening.
Yeah,
he hasn't said anything yet. Yeah, go on. What's your music expertise then, Dan?
Well, I'm a singer. I'm not a musician. I could play the harmonica, but that's it.
Oh, cool.
But and only one song. I play Piano Man. I played it for like 25 years.
Not Bye Bye
Sick of
Blues
it.
by Sonny Boy Williamson. Can you play that? That's my
Yeah,
favorite harmonica.
I can play harmonica on in fact, I might even grab my harmonica and play
Oh yeah,
it for
that'd
20
be good.
seconds.
Hold on a second. Just make sure that if you play anything and it's picked up by the YouTube algorithm, you'll be suspended by the end of the day. Mind you, if you're a bad player, they won't recognize it, and then that would be fine.
I'm not that great. I'll grab my harmonica in a sec. It's in my car. But yeah, it's interesting. So this band is in the Hunger Games soundtrack, but they are basically employing the marketing strategy of a San Francisco food truck. Probably getting pitches now because everyone wants to jump on the Hunger Games bandwagon, as well that any entrepreneurial record label would. But it is a new day. I doubt an indie band like that was probably nothing but a regional favorite in the area wherever they are would have ever gotten on a soundtrack like that, because you knew that was going to be an instant hit franchise movie series because of the books. But it's really interesting how the market's changed. We've gone
That's what John Carter people thought.
Madonna and Michael Jackson and to where you had to have a record label. Before that, it was Loretta Lynn driving around to different radio stations trying to convince them to play her songs, and now we've kind of gone full circle back to it's more democratic. You could be Oleg, playing an instrument with a couple friends, and go viral, and all of a sudden become this big thing. Look, Justin Bieber's a good example of that. He was this little boy doing YouTube video, a cute little kid doing YouTube videos of Usher songs, and there was actually a competition between Usher and who's the kid from NSYNC, Justin Timberlake, to sign him. And because he was such an Usher fan, his loyalty and stuff, he decided to go that route. And now he's, a worldwide star, clearly a talented kid. I guess he writes his stuff and he dances and sings. He's very talented. We'll see how he holds it together as he ages. He's the #1 trending topic on Google right now, Plus. So, yeah, it's really interesting how the music industry's changed. I like it because there's still a lot of control on the radio stations. The consultants, and a friend of mine at the radio station I work at used to be a consultant for radio stations, and now he owns 2. And I'm a fill-in talking head host when the guy's on vacation for the news and the talk show. But it's interesting how much the radio stations rely on those consultants or programmers to tell them what to play, and it still is sort of, you have to be in the club to get on the major radio stations. But there's still that opportunity for someone to break out. I remember the wonderful song called All My Life by Casey and JoJo. I heard a story on one of the, those Sunday top 40 countdown shows or something, Casey Kasem type shows. Yeah. And they said that they were about to break up. They were in Hawaii or something, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. They were about to break up because they were getting no traction and their album was a dud, whatever. And then some station, they didn't even release All My Life as a single. And I think this story's accurate. I hope it is because I heard it on the radio, so I'm guessing. But that some radio station in Hawaii played All My Life. And that's the one, I will never find another lover sweeter than you, sweeter than you. And so it's this beautiful, beautiful song, really nice, and just happy, pretty song. And so they played it, and they got calls. And it was an album track, not a single released. And they were getting all these calls, play that song again. What is it? Who's it by? And it just exploded. And then another state, and it put them on the map, right? And I think they're pretty much a one-hit wonder, so I guess it fizzled after that. But you never know. I think ABC 123 by the Jackson 5 was a side B on a 45, and they had no idea. They thought it was a throwaway song, a silly little ditty. But it took off like crazy. I'm gonna get my harmonica. You guys talk.
Okay.
Yeah, this Taylor Swift on Netflix. I was just watching Taylor Swift, and it's basically how she started. I just put it on streaming. It's a really good story of how she was 13 years old and she went from bar to bar and started playing, and now she's won all these Grammys. She's the youngest person to win Album of the Year.
Wow.
Did you get that thing about the flag, Harold, from a conversation? Were you in there a couple of days ago when they were talking about that?
Yes, we were talking about your flag, so I put that up.
I'm not having...
You notice that it's the opposite color. It's a white on red instead of red on white.
I mean, I think the thing about that is I'm not. Well, you heard what was said the other day. I'm not going to say that in public anymore.
Right, yeah,
I'm not taking that argument.
No,
I'm
it's
not
completely
from those
different
guys.
flag. You can see it's the opposite color.
Yeah, but that is not to say that the famous wartime motif, which I'm not even going to say, was something else many years ago. There's no way I'd put that on the wall. Let's be fair.
Yeah,
But if anybody's watching, if anybody wants to come up with a suitable background for me, which is not a green screen, then by all means go ahead. But I think what I'd
How
like.
about the Beatles in Abbey Road? In Abbey Road, that shot.
What for a background for me?
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean the thing is, but it's a good question because a lot of backgrounds people have, like if they're Letterman or Jay Leno or whatever, it's some kind of blacked out. I know it's fake, isn't it? But it's night time and the lights are on and you're overlooking the city, that sort of thing, isn't it? Through windows or something. So I don't know if that is what's supposed to happen with backdrops.
Now, the backgrounds that I like is Bruce's. He bought these screens. You can get them for like $30. These folding screens, and you put them right behind you. This background looks really nice.
Yeah, it does. You're right here.
And
it looks like he's sitting in a studio. Is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Right, we're gonna have some live harmonica, Mr. Lord Parker. Dan's gonna play intentionally badly so he doesn't get his on-air suspended.
Really?
I think one time I got busted. One guy played some music. Trying to see how to turn the effects on.
Music.
On this board.
Mr. Lord Parker, did you see my technical video from earlier?
Mister? What? Cheeky bugger.
What do you mean cheeky? I called you Lord. What are you talking about? You can't say those words. We're on air. Dan's going to get suspended if you say words like that.
This is an epic moment, yeah. Can you hear? Do you hear any echo? Any reverb on my voice now? Maybe you don't.
No.
Yeah, I don't think you do.
All
right, I'll do a little ditty here.
That's very good.
It's 9 o'clock on a Saturday. Regular crowd shuffles in. Anyway,
I seen your video on YouTube.
Huh?
Your video's on YouTube. So, do you have to pay royalties for that?
Yeah, I think that's $1 million. I'm pulling a Conan O'Brien. Yeah, I think now we have to do a political discussion about the impact of Billy Joel.
This guy. This goes back to the jail years. That's where harmonica comes in. From jail time, which a long time history for them, but we won't go into that.
Where's Alan?
As far as Billy Joel goes, that song that Dan was talking about, right when he started singing that song in bars, that's when Billy Joel started singing with Elton John, because he wanted to make sure Dan does not repeat the process. He saw he beat him in that one song like he was doing, so he decided to do it with Elton John, so he'd have some kind of variation from Dan. Isn't that the story, Dan?
Exactly. You hit it on the head, yeah.
Thank you.
I want to know from Lord Parker what his view of that wonderful, I guess, BBC and PBS show, Downton Abbey. Because you're actually a British lord, and I'm sure you live in a house just like that. But tell us, I'm curious what your view, because I look at it sort of like the Titanic, where it was, I mean, obviously kind of a downer because you knew the guy was, everyone's going to die at the end. But but the Titanic, the movie by James Cameron, was so interesting in its portrayal of what society was like at a certain time. And Downton Abbey does that so well with those wonderful character actors in there. Maggie Smith from Harry Potter. Really classic show, and has totally taken off. So anyway, what are your thoughts on that as you watch that from the perch of an actual British lord?
Do you know, I've never ever seen one episode of it. I've heard all about it, and I've seen the odd trail and the odd bit in the media about it. And from what I gather, it's supposed to be quite an accurate portrayal of how it was between the upper classes and the lower classes at the turn of the century. Unfortunately, those days are all gone now. You know, we don't have servants anymore. More's a pity. Okay, yeah, so there's the cook and the cleaner perhaps, but there's no housekeeper as such anymore. But yeah, I think Downton Abbey portrays history and the class system as it was very, very well, you know, for that day. Yeah, sure. It's just not my type of show. I like the In-Betweeners.
I remember, what was the one? EastEnders was my favorite when I lived in London.
I think a true portrayal of British society was updated, wasn't it, in Fawlty Towers with John Cleese? I think.
John Cleese, yeah. Oh, especially the class one, yeah.
The British sense of humor is so wonderful. It really is. And the commercials are fantastic. I remember, I think it was a Castleman Forex commercial that was on when I was in London, and it was basically there's a plane flying over in Australia, and they're on the phone because the guy's dying. It looks like he has malaria or something. He's sweating in bed, and he says, "Doc, Jim's real sick. What do I do?" And he says, "Get him something cold to drink, or it's going to be really bad." So then the guy goes, his friend goes to the fridge, opens it up, and there's one beer left, one Castleman 4X beer left in the fridge. He grabs the beer, walks back to his sick friend, and the sick friend says, "What'd the doc say, Jim?" And he pops the can. He says, "It's going to be real bad." But I love the British. It's like Super Bowl Sunday every day on British TV. At least it was when I was there.
No, it hasn't changed. I mean, EastEnders is hilarious. Absolutely. Yeah, we got a lot of good homegrown comedy. I mean, I don't know if there's anyone here that knows Not Going Out, but that is a real big hit BBC sitcom at the moment. Now in its 5th season, already commissioned a 6th season as well. One of the big ones at the minute for BBC, and that's quite a rarity to actually have a British sitcom. Most of it's sketch shows, like the good old Fast Show, eh, Mike? Yeah.
Oh, the Fast Show. Has anybody seen the Fast Show before?
The Fast Show.
Hilarious.
We came to the States. I learned my British accent from Benny Hill.
From Benny Hill?
Oh my God!
But he didn't speak, did he? Did he speak much in Benny Hill?
Exactly.
Yeah, he spoke.
Most of the time he just stood there, didn't he, going, "Oh," like that, when he saw when the women walked by and things like that.
Smacking the little bald guy on the head, going,
yeah. Mr. Bean, he was good too. He didn't talk very much.
He didn't really talk.
Did anybody get that flash of losing the server connectivity then, or was it just me?
I didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
We're still streaming.
One of our favorite programs that people watch here is Merlin. That one's its 3rd
that's
season.
awesome. That is amazing. Yeah, that's in its.
Yeah, have you seen Merlin? Well.
Yeah, it's good. It's the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The latest season is certainly the best season so far. It's got a lot darker. So
I like that new show, Touch. Anybody seen Touch?
That's 24 by the name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm obviously excited about it because they used one of my newspapers as a prop in episode 4, which is by far the best episode. But yeah, it's a cool show, and I want to tell that story real quick. I got an email from 20th Century Fox, or from some production company, and they said, we're going to do an episode in Lynchburg, Virginia, and this was like in February or something. I wasn't supposed to talk about it, which is really hard because I love to talk, right? And so they said, we want to use your newspaper as a prop. Someone wins the lottery, and we want to make a cover, and I had to sign a 2-page agreement, giving them rights, and we made a mock cover up with our logo and stuff, and it was so cool. I mean, it was just 5 seconds, right? But it was neat to see a product that I created used with Danny Glover and Kiefer Sutherland in a major network television show for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
That was just a real blast. It was fun.
Yeah,
There was no money involved. It was just bragging rights.
Danny Glover as well.
So he's crazy.
That's another show I've heard a lot about, but I've not actually seen it yet.
Well,
Danny Glover's basically a political, almost identical copy of Oleg on all of his political views.
Oh, Dan, the same thing happened to me. I got to be on the very first internet commercial by Microsoft way back in 1994. Microsoft sent me an email saying, we want to use your Muhammad Ali photo. I had a Muhammad Ali website back then, and because I took a whole bunch of photos of him, which are up on, and they paid me, I think it was $300 to use that photo in their commercial. It was called
Wow.
Heroes of the Internet.
Very
That's
cool.
that's a lot of money those days.
Yeah.
Okay, I see a couple comments here. Alan, as usual, great. Thank you for the compliment on my illegal harmonica playing. From Alan Furstenberg, I'm about to begin a 5-hour drive, so I imagine you'll still be on when I'm done. Well, now there's a 4-hour limit for Hangouts, so they've obviously they're going to call it the McDermott, Moskalensky, Furstenberg, and Carey rule, because they've finally reined us in. And then Sarah at KOMU, neat to see comments on this side as well, but they're not integrated with Google Plus comments. Perhaps that's coming. I think it is. I think they said they're going to bring Google Plus commenting into YouTube. There's lots to like about the YouTube comments, but you can't mention people. It's not integrated, so it's all going to be one thing. So that is very exciting. But the YouTube integration is just phenomenal. The fact that we're listed on the live YouTube thing, and sometimes, like during Google Plus Week, we'll have 100 live viewers, and all of these comments on the YouTube player. And you folks, if you're watching, if you should check it out, but mute it, right? But if you go to my channel, it's on Hangouts. I guess it's on Hangouts and Google Plus. You can just go to Google Plus, click on the Hangouts thing. Let me see if it's there.
And for those who are not watching,
yeah, we're there, and you click Watch, but mute the audio once you click it, and then you can monitor these comments with me on the right side, and we can respond to them, because they'll talk about what we're talking about. It's really interesting. It's wonderful engagement. I love it. But I can't click. I've tried to click reply to Sarah's comment, and then I'll shut up and go to Harold. But it doesn't work. I don't have the pop-out box in Chrome, and I don't have the. If I click on the reply thing, it doesn't do anything. But anyway, go ahead, Harold.
Yeah, I don't know why they would kick you off, because they encourage us. We had a live broadcast on Ustream, a Google Hangout broadcast to Ustream for 77 days. So I don't think you'll make that.
Probably not. At some point, I would have to sleep. I just think that it's. I don't know what. I guess it's a. I'm not sure of the reason. I imagine there's a cost involved, and there's a. Now that they've integrated into YouTube Live, the on-air Hangouts, I'm guessing that they have to be more cautious because there's so many more eyes. I'm speculating, though. I have no idea. It's a Chi question. I'm sure Chi would tell you.
Yeah, I was wondering what the copyright would be on that, because our Hangout, Chi was in it, and we had Dale, the guy from Dell, come in. Michael Dell came in, but when we were broadcasting it live on live stream, but what's the difference in the copyright laws between us doing that and them having you can't do it on a YouTube thing?
I mean, you can't use someone else's copyrighted content.
Well, we were doing everything. I mean, everybody came in, and people were naked, people coming in naked and stuff like that, and it was all being broadcast live. I'm just saying.
But it wasn't on air because they didn't have that.
We basically had an it was like on air, because we have a live hookup to we had one computer hooked up to live stream, which was in the Hangout, and that was in there for the whole 77 days. So we were broadcasting live to everybody for 77 days.
Just a hello from Sweden. Love the Hangout feature. Yeah, it's great. This is awesome because we get to meet so many new people, and a lot of folks are discovering this not through Google Plus. They're discovering this on YouTube Live, and so it's letting people know. And Sarah Hill with KOMU TV did a really good post today. I shared it on my profile, but check her out. Just go to Google Plus and search Sarah Hill, and you'll see her. She's blonde and she's on a TV set. That's the right one. I don't know if there's any other Sarah Hills, but she did a really good post about she's about to in the next couple days encounter her 10,000th person in Hangouts. Wow. And all of us here are friends now, and we all randomly met because we all entered one of the other's Hangouts, and that's really the killer feature. We're sitting here with a Russian emigre in Kirkland, Washington. We're
American citizen, I might add.
An American citizen with a British lord and with an expert.
Hold on a second. Hold on. British lord, as in Game of Thrones British lord? That kind of lord?
Yes.
Wow.
As in, he's more important than Oleg. British
Obviously.
Lord.
Most people are.
And then we have a Navajo expert here who was a big part of the longest hangout ever. So we all met, right? I mean, and I'm a newspaper publisher in Virginia, so we're all very different. We would never have met but for Google+. So that's what's so exciting about Hangouts, where you get to meet really interesting people who share an interest with you, and you can make new friends and learn. I've learned from all three of these folks.
Oh.
So if you look at the screen right now, you'll see that we're not live. We're upcoming.
If I go there now, I see us on page 2 because we've got 9 viewers, but it'll get onto page 1 later. We're on page 2 now. It says Sunday News and Tech Live.
But also we're on upcoming. You're also on upcoming.
They're probably still making some changes to this, Harold. They're probably because yesterday also it was on my screen it was nothing on Dan's.
I'll chat with marketing. That's an older.
That was a hangout earlier with my sister that I never even broadcast. That's interesting.
Yeah, I see us on screen 2, number 3 at the top.
Yeah, I didn't notice that. Your internet's, your audio's breaking up pretty bad, Harold.
Yeah, I know it's Ron. Okay, pop this off.
But this is such a great discovery feature to get YouTube people to realize how cool Google Plus is. You know, hopefully, you know, in a few months we'll be at least 3.5 minutes a month usage. Ba-bum, ba-bum, bum.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So, Oleg or Lord Parker, or whoever.
It'll be real popular when I start my gardening show.
Your gardening show? Oh my God!
I'm going to start my gardening show every Saturday. It's the name of my show. I'm actually making a graphic. It's called Harold in the Vegetable Garden every Saturday.
Well, it kind of looks like a desolate wasteland last time I saw it, Harold.
Yeah.
It's definitely not harvest season.
It is, but you got to see it by the end
yet.
of summer. I'm going to show you some pictures what it looks like at the end of summer. It's huge and tons of fruit.
Well, I'm jealous because I eat a lot of fruits and vegetables and stuff. So, but anyway, so what's going on, guys? What's interesting to you today? What's in the news or technology or anything you've seen that's interesting?
Staying in this hangout is an achievement for me, being thrown out and
Mike
stuff.
made this beautiful information video that I just saw on his stream about, you know, his how he does his hangouts. That was great.
There's a follow-up. Did you see the one from Jeff? And he said, interesting, you should use flat pieces of paper with treasury tags. Why didn't you go for the spiral bind? And then I said, because if you lean on it, apart from the thickness, if you lean on it, I'm just going to put it in the chat for those people, you get one of these shapes come up your arm if you lean on it for too long.
Yeah.
That's Mike Downes speaking for YouTube viewers. It's DOWNES, and you can see he did a wonderful behind-the-scenes video of his television studio, and I am very jealous. And I said that I'm going to have to take the Amtrak train to New York to go to B&H to stock up on some stuff. Or maybe I should go to Staples instead.
I'm waiting for
Office Depot. And welcome back to you, Lion8525 in Jordan, watching us. That's awesome.
There it is, look.
Thanks for watching us.
Oleg's favourite. Oleg's favourite.
Absolutely. Yeah,
pencil hugger that you can keep a hold of there.
Is that only available in England?
I don't know. Pencil hugger. Let's look it up and see if anybody's watching. That's with the Oxford HB I'm using there.
Is this YouTube or Cam 4? I'm not sure. You guys.
No, this is one of the props. This is actually on eBay. It'll probably go for a lot of money someday. So this was one of the props.
If it had a G Plus logo on it, it would be phenomenal.
I know, but look at that. Look, how am I expected to use that, which is the school stabler? In the UK, we get all these yellow and blacks.
Something made in Russia. I mean, you don't want to
terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I'll tell you right there.
So the violation if we bring this week is
Carol, you're totally breaking up.
What if we
Try it
brought
again.
Twit Live in here when it was on at 4 o'clock?
That's actually Creative Commons, but I wouldn't want to do that because just because they say it's Creative Commons doesn't necessarily mean YouTube thinks it's Creative Commons.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I was wondering what the legal things would be of that.
Yeah. But
so how many lords do we have on Google Plus? Are you the only one?
Official lords?
Well, exactly, yeah.
As far as I'm aware, I'm the only one, I think.
You're the only one. So I have
Could you go to the House of Lords and vote on stuff?
Don't talk to him about that. Oh my God, don't talk to him about the House of Lords, whatever you do, because you might get the story.
He's going to get the story now. He's going to get the story.
Tell the story. Tell the story, because this is a great story. Go on.
All right, I want to hear the story, and I'm going to make a pit stop, but my speakers are on. I can hear everything you're saying. If I'm
I wouldn't, Dan. If I'd stay for the story if I were you, because you can't, from what Lord is about to say, and then if you're not around, seriously, wait till you hear the story. It'll blow your mind, the story. Get this.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. Yeah, my family line goes right back to Edward II, or his second son, which was the Earl of Antwerp, so I guess Edward II as well. But my family is mostly made up of rebels. They started the War of the Roses, and one of the main instigators of the gunpowder plot was one of my ancestors, Sir Thomas Percy, who got shot in the head the very next day, bless him, along with Catesby. So we've basically had all our lands and castles and stuff stripped and taken away, and we're not allowed that sort of thing. So we're not allowed. Probably not allowed in the House of Lords. It's not a good thing.
How can you be a lord and not be allowed in the House of Lords? That doesn't sound very democratic. Not that the House of Lords is particularly democratic.
The House of Lords is basically a voted representation these days. Anyway, it's not a life peerage thing.
But at the end of the day, he's not allowed in.
Most of the lords these days are voted in.
So if your ancestor was one of the ones who tried to blow the place up a few hundred years ago, then they're probably still not going to let you in. Not that they bear a grudge or anything.
Yeah,
well, they hold a grudge, don't they?
I didn't go to the wedding either. You know, not an invite.
So you're like the outcast.
Yeah, I'm like the black sheep of the family. Yeah. Yeah.
That's fun.
Amazingly cool.
So what are the benefits to being a British lord other than you don't have a problem getting a seat at a restaurant table?
Oh yeah, I mean I get lots of cool things given to me, and only yesterday, I'll tell you a little story about yesterday, which is a brilliant one. I had a problem with my iPhone. It wouldn't play music or anything after it got a little bit of water damage in it. Hey Mike. So I took it to the Apple store, and the guy looked at it and goes, you know, oh, I can tell by looking at it instantly that you've had water damage. You know, we're not going to be able to replace this. You're going to pay like £150 for it because it's been damaged by water. And at that point, I just told him who I was and said, you know, I can't be without a phone. I need a phone right now. And they instantly just went, hang on, we'll just replace that phone for you, sir. Ding! Here's your phone. And here is my brand new iPhone 4S. You know,
now you should upgrade to an Android, you'll be in excellent shape.
I have an Android here. Hang on, got one of those. Right, got a Google Nexus S right here.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah. So
there are benefits to being a British lord. You get
yeah. You know,
you get treated well by Apple. Even Apple recognizes the power. If the House of Lords doesn't, at least Apple does. And that's more important.
I don't use it all the time, Dan. To be honest with you, I tend to sort of, if I can, stay below the radar. But if there's times when I feel like using my name, I'll use it, yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. It's your name. Not like you're faking that.
On the whole, I'm not a pompous, stuck-up Brit. You know, I'm just a normal, wacky, eccentric, sartorial, elegant nutjob.
No, you're just a modern lord, that's all.
A modern lord, perhaps.
Modern lord. Exactly.
They're all nuts.
I think it's so neat that you're on here because you wouldn't expect, you like you said, you would expect a stuffy, highfalutin person, but it brings it down to earth in much the same way that Diana did with the royal family. You know, it humanized them, and I think it's really cool that we get to sit here and talk to you and learn about what that's like. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it's you know, I'm quite, you know, what I've always said, I'm a normal person, you know.
Then you should rename the hangout, call it Noble Hangout with the Commoners.
No. I mean, people I know, like you guys, get to call me by my first name, but I don't actually have to use my first name. So people I don't know, I always make them call me, you know, my lord, your lordship, sir, whatever. But, you know, people I know, they can call me by my first name.
That's funny, your lordship. I couldn't get
it's
used.
Not funny. It's pretty incredible. It's a pleasure to meet you, and Harold, good to see you. And Dan, sorry, I'm hearing a little screaming there, so I gotta run.
Okay.
But you
Family
guys
first.
have a wonderful weekend, and it was great to talk to you.
Yeah.
Great, Oleg. Awesome.
Take care.
Thanks, Oleg. Bye-bye.
Take care.
So, Harold, tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods.
Well, what I do is I go out the door and watch the cows eat. So I bet you don't do that by your house. We got a herd right next to my house. We have a herd of 150 cattle, and every morning we have they in the winter, which is really interesting. You have to go and break the ice so they can drink water.
They must be going up to the mountain soon, Harold, surely.
Say again.
I was going to say, they must be going back up to the mountains again soon. Your cattle.
My computer keeps breaking up. Am I breaking up when you guys can't hear? I only can hear every other word.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you may want to reboot or something, Harold, or reboot your router or something, because normally your connection's a lot better than this. I know you're out in the boonies, but normally, it's better.
Yeah, I'll try something. Okay.
Okay. Lord Parker, I'm curious. Tell us a little bit about what's the big news story in the UK, and also your beloved neighbor, France. Mr. Sarkozy is having some issues right now, right?
Yeah,
what's your take on whatever's going on in the UK and the Sarkozy situation?
Well, I mean, the big news in the UK today has been the London Marathon. I mean, it was, it is the biggest marathon that we have, 26 miles all around London, won by a Kenyan chap and a Kenyan lady. I don't know the names today, but it's always a good event. It's nice to see people running, raising money for charity. Having lots of fun. I think there's a woman from Devon came across the line in about 4 hours dressed in, she's the first one to come across the line dressed in a wedding dress fastest time. So I don't know, it's weird. So that's the main thing that's hitting England today, is the London Marathon. In terms of France, well, Sarkozy's not having a good time. Looks like he's going to get beaten in the second round. I think he got something like 25% of the votes this time in the first round. They need 50% to get the presidency, and looks like there's a guy, God, what's his name? Harold or Hamilton, I don't know. Looks like Sarkozy's about to get beaten, and looks like he's about to run out of office. And they're saying the reason he's about to get beaten is because he's leading a playboy presidency, apparently. Hanging out with celebrities and having a wild time, and they reckon that's why he's actually going to lose the presidency this time round. So
he's got the same sort of thing going on as what they saw in Italy, I guess, where the tabloid headlines took over.
Not as bad as Berlusconi. I mean, he has got Carla Bruni, which is quite hot property, I guess you would call it. He's not actually been going out and getting affairs with other sorts of women, as far as we know. But he has been leading a playboy type lifestyle whilst being a president. All the trimmings that come with it. So maybe the French aren't very happy.
Maybe the French could contract out to the U.S. Secret Service for their protection.
Maybe they could. I mean, it's sort of smart as a modern revolution. That's where I read it. They're saying, oh, instead of saying let them eat cake, let them eat McDonald's or whatever it is. I don't know. But they're fed up with the way he is living this high lifestyle whilst there's a recession. Everyone's having hardship, and I think that's why they're planning on getting rid of him.
Well, they kind of knew what they were getting, right? I mean, he had a supermodel wife and was all, you get what you vote in, right?
Yeah. I think they thought that it was going to be a big change and everything. I mean, this new guy, forgive me, I don't know his name, is Harold or Hamilton, I don't know. He's planning on putting up taxes and taxing the rich, that is, rather than the poor, and making sure that the wealthy pay more and the less well-off actually do well out of it.
Let me ask you a question back to the Lord thing. You said that they're elected now, because it was a lifetime peerage when I was there in the 80s, so they changed that.
It's changed, yeah. It was lifetime peerages, and father to son. I mean, my title will go to my boy when he's older because it's an old title, yeah. But
so that have they are some locked in or grandfathered in per se, but
some are locked in, yeah. But on the majority of people in the House of Lords these days are elected or put in there by the government themselves. So, like a good case of this would be Alan Sugar, who is a business entrepreneur, runs The Apprentice in the UK over here. He was made a peer by Gordon Brown, just before they sort of left office. So he's now Lord Sugar as opposed to Sir Alan Sugar. So the government basically promote people to do their bidding for them in the upper chamber, as it were.
I'm sure there was resistance from some of the families when that happened.
Oh, there was. Yeah, there was. But there's not a lot you can do about it, because I mean, when they vote for reform of the House of Lords, which they're about to do again, so they're about to reform the House of Lords yet again, then there's not a lot that you can do. You can just go, oh, fine, we'll deal with it. It's a matter of law, and you can't change it.
So, how many lords like you are actual lords, but not able to participate in the House of Lords? It seems ironic to me, but I'm I'm an American, so I lived in London for 2 years, but I don't understand the culture that well. So
there is different. It's really hard to explain, Dan. I mean, for a start, I mean, I can be called like Baron Parker as well as Lord Parker. Okay. A barony is like imagine like you got a ladder, and at the top of it stands the Queen or the King. Okay, below that you've got like the Dukes and Duchesses, then you've got the Marquis and Marquises, and then below that you've got the Barons, and then below that you've got the Lords, and then you've got the MPs, and that's pretty much the way the social structure works. But first and foremost, I guess I would be a Baron rather than a Lord, although I can call myself both. And I just prefer to call myself Lord rather than Baron, because Baron sounds a bit weird to me. So I went with the lordly title. But I don't have to refer to myself as Lord Parker of such and such, whereas members of the House of Lords do.
I find it fascinating. A lot of Americans don't understand it, but I've been there. I saw Princess Diana when I was a kid. I was about 10 feet from her. She and Prince Charles. It was wow. I was at Trafalgar Square. I was about 18 years old, and there was a big crowd gathered. For folks who don't know, in London, in the West End, it's Trafalgar Square. And it's a major hang on one sec. It's a major movie theater there, and it's sort of like the Broadway of movie theaters in England, and they would have all their big premieres of like Harry Potter, the world premiere, that kind of thing would happen there. And then so it was the fancy theater, and there was like motorcycles came by, and then the police vans, and then you saw this old jalopy like a Bentley or a Rolls Royce or something, and it had the purple ostrich plumes, the seal of the House of Windsor, and the purple light, which signifies that a member of the royal family is on board. And there she was, and I was just like, wow. I mean, it was fairy tale stuff. But any interesting memories? And I got to do this. But any interesting memories you have or thoughts about?
I remember actually going up to the wedding. Not actually into the church, but I remember standing there and watching them come past. Must have been about, I don't know, 6, 7, I don't know. It's probably older than that. Maybe about 11ish. What year were they married at? Do you know? Was it 81, Mike?
It was. Don't know. Yeah, sounds about right, didn't it?
I think it was 81. They got married. So I mean,
77 was the jubilee, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Silver wedding thing.
Yeah. So I mean, it must have been 81. I think they got married. So yeah, I remember going up to the wedding, being dragged up there very early in the morning by my parents, and standing there for hours on end, just waiting at Charing Cross, actually, with a little with one of those little periscopes. You had to hand in to the crowd. So that's my earliest memory of Diana and Charles, was going to the wedding, as it were.
She was absolutely beautiful, and I thought she really I remember when she died. The worst part about her death, there were so many bad parts, right? I wish that I guess it was an arranged marriage, or what do you want to call it? And he was never in love with her, I don't think. I'm speculating. It's none of my business.
No, I think you're right.
But it's so sad, because if they had actually worked out, she'd be alive today. And then you think about it, the impact she had. And then I remember she died, and everyone was just like, what? And then Mother Teresa died, like a day or two later.
Yeah.
And she never got her due, because it was
the world grieving for
so much attention. And then they kind of, and that incredible speech by her brother.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, that great line, or I don't want to say great, but that resonant line, and she did it all without a royal title, because they stripped her. And I guess they resented her popularity, and I think she was kind of flaky anyway. But she was so popular because she was really a commoner who did well. I mean, she wasn't a commoner, I don't think, right?
No, she wasn't a commoner.
But she wasn't, in the club, and she didn't fit in well, and blah, 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 and she didn't say all the right things. She didn't grovel well. But she was so immensely popular because of her the thing, like holding an AIDS patient the first time a royal, I mean, just things like that people got.
Well, hold on a second, Dan.
Y'all weigh in.
Yeah, okay. I was going to say, with Princess Diana, I don't have any memories of her not fitting exactly. Was that not pertinent to the breakdown of the marriage first, Lord, do you think? I can't seem to remember anything wrong going on before the marriage breakdown.
No.
Not like the Fergie situation.
Definitely not like Fergie.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So just for those people watching, if Dan was saying one thing, I don't think that's the way I heard it.
No.
She was like, should we say, publicly perfect until the marriage breakdown, and then that caused quite a few issues after that, which is a very different story in my view, to say Fergie and some other people.
Oh, you can't compare Diana to Fergie. No.
Princess Margaret.
Hey, listen, Lord Parker. Lord Parker, I've got my housekeeper Maggie. Here, come say hi to Lord Parker.
I'm going to say he's got a housekeeper.
Hello.
Go back so they can see you. Let me click on it. Hang on one second.
Oh, there she is. Hello.
Isn't she awesome? She came to borrow a baking sheet, but she's never met a British lord before. He's an actual British
now you
lord.
have.
He's the Baron. I think he owns like half of England. He's so rich. But he's Lord Parker. she wants a loan.
She wants some money. I wish. Hang on.
She's the housekeeper, not the housekeeper, Dan, is she?
Yeah, she is.
The housekeeper.
Miles?
The housekeeper comes and puts her head on your shoulder.
Now, why do I need a housekeeper?
That was only to get in the shot. That's it. I promise.
Oh, right. Okay.
You know that adorable... That's her son. Okay, I'll see it. Thank you. I had a picture of her son when I said, like, caption this photo, and one time I had the little boy with the remote control. It said, must stop Oleg. That's her son, her adorable 2-year-old. Yeah, he's really cute. But yeah, that's my housekeeper. She wanted to borrow.
Why don't you put the 2-year-old to host the show Friday night and see if it gets more views?
I think so, absolutely. I think Ben would be a good candidate as well. He's a little older than 2.
Oh, Dan, you see that little mask right beside Miles? That's a Guy Fawkes mask. How are you related to Guy Fawkes? Tell us that, Miles.
Yeah, that's you were probably at the room when I did that, Harold. I said about the fact that Sir Thomas Percy was one of my ancestors who arranged the whole gunpowder plot with Guido Fawkes and was shot in the head the very next day. In fact, one bullet killed both Robert Catesby and Sir Thomas Percy in one go. They were stood next to each other, and the bullet went through Catesby.
That must have been a pretty good gun.
Yeah, it was a sniper shot. Yeah.
Really?
Well, what was Guy Fawkes famous for?
Yeah, in those days he was sniped, and it was like one of those massive ball bearings that was fired at him.
Oh right, yeah, okay.
And it just went straight through Catesby's head and straight to Sir Thomas Percy's head at the same time.
Whoa.
Yeah, that would have made a mess, wouldn't it? One of those big balls. Yeah.
What was Guy Fawkes famous for? How come his name's always talked about?
Trying to blow up the Houses of Parliament.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you think he's on the blacklist? He's got nothing on Guy. Let me tell you, he's not. He may be on the do not invite list, but Fawkes was really in hot water with those guys.
Yeah, that's why they chopped him up into tiny little pieces and sent him all around the country. Not a nice way to go. A bit of torture first, then they gutted him or hung him, then they gutted him, then they chopped him up. Yeah.
They got it done. They don't mess around when you try to blow up Parliament.
Yeah, no electric chair. Boom, he's gone. Oh, dear me.
Is it true that the last person, I think this might not be true, is it true that the last person to die in the guillotine was the inventor of the guillotine?
I've heard this rumor before, actually.
I don't know if it's true or not, but that was interesting.
Yeah.
And then it reminds me of one of the best Drudge Report headlines I've ever read. Man accidentally cuts arm off with homemade guillotine.
Oh.
What in the world? Gosh, you find some great stuff.
Oh, from what I heard, the guillotines didn't always work completely the first time. Sometimes they sort of went halfway through and bounced off. So they had to pull them back up and let them down again.
Yeah, that'd be pretty grisly, right? I mean,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, imagine you just, can we finish this already? Come on.
Yeah, how much longer until, my head's gone?
Have you heard about that Roswell thing going on today? Are you following that one?
I'm not.
No.
Tell us about it.
There's something near Reno that's going around through Melissa's channel over there, and they're talking about hundreds and hundreds of phone call complaints to the law enforcement saying that there's been some kind of earthquake, sound boom, call it something. The latest theory is that it's actually a meteor shower. I said that it was possibly a military jet going overhead, and when it breaks the sound barrier, it lets out a boom. And there was this because we had one of those in the Midlands the other day. Did you hear about that? Yeah, it was in the Midlands, wasn't it? Over Coventry, wasn't it?
It stretched from the Midlands to Somerset.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds more like.
It was a guy in Devon. There was a guy in a helicopter in Devon that sent a message saying he'd been hijacked by mistake.
Yeah.
So they scrambled those two typhoons and it shot right across those counties. Yeah.
But what the interesting bit I heard is that they have to get authority to break the sound barrier.
They do, yes.
And because it was an
They have to
emergency. So they got the authority, they broke the sound barrier, and then there's some awesome videos, isn't it, where this boom and it literally explodes with the air. That gets it. Now, if that's happened over the Reno area, then if the military aren't going to cough up and say, actually, it was a couple of our people just slipping out somewhere, on reporting to an incident many hundreds of miles away, and they haven't said that. And then the latest thing is quite interesting because you're using Google Plus with Brad Panovich down in Florida, and he is going through, because he's a meteorologist from Florida, somewhere down there. He reckons, because I said, can you see the meteors as they come in through the satellite, the weather radar? And he says, yeah, probably. So he's going to have a look at that. And now everybody's saying it's this meteor shower, but I still don't get how it's going to make that amount of noise. Not that I know what meteor showers are like. I wouldn't have thought so.
It does sound more likely to be.
Roswell, Dan, scramble your helicopter, Dan, and get down there and report it to your local.
I bet it's a sonic boom.
He's muted.
A meteor shower.
Can't hear him.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to invite Alan, but I can't. I've got his phone number here, but I can't invite him. You can't invite him to hang out on air to a telephone, correct?
Not unless you're the only one who can invite anyway. So when you click invite button, does it?
It doesn't show up. Yeah.
No, then you can't do it. No.
Okay. Let me look at some comments here. Hello from. Okay. Like your show. Thank you so much. Georgios from London is watching. Good stuff. Thank you so much. We've got. I should have called this UK news and tech chat because it's 50% folks in the kingdom, and us Yanks are over here, filling in the other side. A Zeus Transformer Pad TF300 starts at $349 and is trending on Google+. That's interesting. Alan is in a 5-hour drive.
And hey, here's a game, Dan. You read out the comments, you read the names, and I'll tell you which ones are from the Google Plus stream and which ones are from the YouTube stream.
I swear to God, I'm specifically not doing that because my dear friend Raja Sekarademietu or whatever, I have no idea how to pronounce that. I have no idea where the different names break, and so to avoid future embarrassment, I'm just not reading that. I'm just taking a stand. Bruce Turner's at IHOP with his granddaughter. Kindles and iPhones only have a great hangout. Mike Phillips, I'm somewhere in New Jersey, and apparently I cannot do hangouts on my iPhone 4. Yeah, you can't join an on-air hangout from a mobile device. I'm not sure what the reasoning for that is. And then Go to this webpage. This is on Google Plus to get updates if the imagery of Google Maps gets changed to your locality. Pretty cool. And then one friend suggested, I need someone to bring me food and beverages during these long hangouts, and I think that's a fantastic suggestion. I'll have to get...
What about your maid? What about your maid?
My house.
Yeah.
She's great. She's a really great housekeeper. Because my sister was coming, my sister, my rich sister, I call her. She's like got $1 million mansion and stuff, and so she was on the show Friday, and so I called her in a panic. I was like, oh my God, my sister's coming. Can we clean the place up? And so she straightened it up and made it, fragrance and shiny and everything. So she approved. And then my sister shows up with she's like, well, let's have a snack, and it's like some sort of pasta pesto with shrimp and a salad of arugula with all. I mean, it was like the Food Network in a bag or something. And then she's like, do you have a microwave? And it was great. It was really good. So I had a little snack before the show last night, or Friday night, which was fantastic. But anyway, that's an update on the comments, and we'll. Hello from Newcastle in the UK.
Hello,
Craig.
Newcastle.
That's awesome.
Why man? Why man? Why?
There are regional dialects. People in America don't realize that, but like someone from England is only about the size of Virginia. But
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
We're such a large geographically, we're such a large country, but England is just jam-packed with people. But there are real differences in the culture and the dialect. Someone from Northern England, someone in Southern England would have a trouble understanding them. Do your best Northern England Cockney type accent, either one of you guys.
Oh, Jesus. I mean,
fishy from the fishy from the dishy when the boat comes in. That's a northern one.
Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
And then Liverpool, that would any of the interviews
with the
Beatles. That's a pretty standard Liverpool accent, Liverpudlian accent, right?
Hold on, let's get it. Can't think.
I'm thinking of Liver Birds for a minute.
Yeah. Calm down.
Calm down.
Yeah, calm down. Why? No, that's why again, isn't it? Yeah, that's actually from a sketch.
Yeah.
We can give you the sketch to that one.
Yeah. And then there's the proper King's English, like the Windsors would use.
Like I'm speaking.
Thank you very much. Like you'd see the Queen or King of England speak.
Yeah.
You'd probably be able to do a good proper English there, Lord Parker.
I can't, because I'm from the West Country, and down here in the West Country we all talk like this. You see, it's not right because we all drink cider all day.
Yeah, and get pissed. Yeah.
One of my favorite, another favorite commercial of mine in England was a Pizza Hut commercial. Pizza Hut's in the UK, and in America we eat. They showed a bunch of people, Americans eating pizza, right? And they said, with pizza, they showed, all these wonderful people eating pizza, and then they said, well, if you notice they're eating it with their hands, well, they're Americans, and with pizza this good, you can we can tolerate their little eccentricity. And I didn't realize that in England that's unusual. In America, you eat pizza with your hand, but in England, they use a proper knife and fork. And they think it's weird that we eat it. It's always funny to see what people think is funny about us. And they would never eat pizza with their hands in a public. And they think it's funny that we say, like, have a nice day. And they'll make fun of that. Like, these guys, like, have a nice day. They'll with their American accent. It's really funny, the things that you guys find amusing in us. And then stuff like Mike will say, oh, that's an impressive bit of kit. And I just think that's really funny. He has no idea why it's funny because it's just different to us. And this brings up another issue that I posted about. The Harry Potter books are now released as an ebook format from Pottermore, and you can only get the UK version. Like the original was the most stark contrast was the title of the first book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone versus Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and you can only get the British version in the UK. You can only get the American version, the Americanized version.
Oh wow!
In America, and that upsets me because not that J.K. Rowling is Shakespeare, but she is in that E.B. White, Tolkien, classic British writers group. I mean, I think I think it's the big three now with those three for young adult children's fiction.
Oh, she's being used in school now for exams.
Oh, it's amazing. I mean, she got a generation around the world to read books again, and that's just fantastic. So,
but the American version had a different voice, though, didn't it? Like Stephen Fry did the English audio, and it was the guy. Jim Dale. Was it Jim Dale? Who did the? Was it him? Who did the American voice for the Harry Potters?
Yeah.
The guy who just died.
That snarky British wit. It's like the reason I bring up Shakespeare, not to compare her with Shakespeare, but Shakespeare is not something you would want a translated, modernized version. The whole point is to read it the way it was written initially. And she wrote it in a British dialect with snarky, funny British witticisms, and that's the real writing. And then they translate it. Translate's a bad word, but they Americanize it, and something's lost. And I think there's a lot of value when you look at someone who's just an absolutely fantastic writer, and she is on so many levels. She's a wonderful writer. Fascinating plots and character development, and snarky, funny things, and just a great storyteller. I want to be able to read that in the original British version that she actually wrote, not something that some American editor translated. And I think it's a disservice to society.
I didn't even know that.
Intellect.
Is that what you're saying then, Dan? Is that the original English version goes to America and has actually been rewritten to suit the Americans? Is that what you said?
Well, like my guys might say, can I get a fag? And here they would say cigarette or a smoke. You know what I mean? Or any of the, like you say, an impressive bit of kit, and we say, like, well, that's a nice setup of equipment. There are differences. Like you say transport, we say transportation. All these things. That's what I'm saying. The original version that she wrote it, you cannot purchase the original British written version that she wrote in America. Scott, can you mute your mic or turn down your speakers or something, because we're just getting an echo back from you. But yeah, that's all I'm saying. If you're interested in the original version, you can't get it. And I mean, that would be like taking Shakespeare and modernizing it and teaching it to children. They would lose something with that, in my humble opinion. What do you guys think?
No, I agree with that. I think you can't change Shakespeare, and J.K. is one of the modern greats. I think it was bizarre that they changed it from the Philosopher's Stone to the Sorcerer's Stone, wasn't that? Couldn't you understand Philosopher?
But there are some major problems. Remember, was it Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels or something that went over to America, and the people came out, the Americans come out, and they had to have like a little subtitle card or something with all of the Cockney rhyming slang, and some shortcuts are in there, and they're like, what were they talking about? There was another show, wasn't there, that went over there, and it's like, oh, it was EastEnders as well, wasn't it? You have to have like a card.
Subtitles or something?
Yeah, that's right. That's
explaining what has just been said.
Yeah.
They must have a field day with those ATMs in London, which have got Cockney as one of the language choices.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah. Have you not heard of those?
No.
Yeah, they put them in a couple of years ago. The ATMs have actually got Spanish, French, German, and Cockney is actually a language choice on the ATM.
So you can have some Jedi at least.
You can have it like with talk about Charlie Sheen and stuff on the ATMs. It's brilliant. It really is.
Are you serious?
Yeah, no, shut up. Yeah, in London they did Cockney, because Cockney is the language of most Eastern Londoners. So, yeah, ATMs had Cockney as a language choice.
Couple comments here coming in. If you want a Geordie on, I will pop in sometime. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah.
What is he? I don't understand. What's a Geordie?
Someone from Newcastle. Magpie follower.
Oh, okay. See, I've learned something new here. This is English to Geordie translator, geordie.org.uk. That's awesome. There's a translator site. Best regards from Finland, from the Groveling. The new feature is awesome, and it's almost from a sci-fi movie. Thanks so much for watching us in Finland. And then, how do I put? Man, You guys can read this.
I can do it. I'll do it. Hey, man, I'm going to the boozer.
Hey,
So he's going to the pub for a
drink.
pint, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I eat. Oh yeah, this is awesome. And then we have someone watching us in the Google Plus comments. Nicholas Hallgren. Just a hello from Sweden here too. Love the Hangout feature. Seems like I got my old alias back on YouTube, but here on G Plus I'm just myself. Say hello to the Lord. I will do that for you. And thanks so much for watching and commenting and participating. We're watching the comments on the YouTube Live player and also on the Google Plus player. So if you weigh in there, we're seeing them, and you know, periodically we'll jump to those. So anyway, Scott, tell us what's going on in your neck of the woods. Tell us about yourself, where you are, and all that good stuff.
Hey Dan, thanks. I'm sitting in beautiful sunny Seattle today. No rain. Kind of missing Oleg on there. He's probably outside enjoying some sun too.
He just had to skip out. I think children were screaming in the background. He's got a full litter of pups there, and you never know what's going to happen.
I still haven't hooked up with him yet. You know, he just lives just a few miles away from me. I'm just north of the city in Queen Anne right now, and just really enjoying it. It's been a life experience here. Big change for me. I think you've probably read up on some of it, Dan. And I now operate a new nonprofit here in Seattle that collects new and used shoes, and we take them out to organizations throughout the Seattle area now. And
why don't you tell us, go into depth about that? Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, what that's about.
Well, you know, Dan, I spent better than 13 years out on the streets. I was homeless. I lived in areas including Skid Row in L.A., Houston, Dallas. Most recently, before coming here in Seattle, I spent 6 years in Salt Lake City, living up above the University of Utah, which was very good for me because I got a IT education while I was there. I used their library. The IT department took a hold of me and taught me how to build websites and SEO and SEM work. It was just awesome. But yet I had a addiction problem with alcohol and drugs. So I came here to Seattle looking for a new life, and I actually did find that. Everything's a whole lot better. I went through a program at Seattle's Union Gospel Mission here. I spent a year in there, but during those 7 years in Salt Lake City and here in Seattle, I saw a huge need for shoes by organizations. You know, in particular, I was in Salt Lake City. There was a large organization there that takes care of all the homeless population, and it's called the Road Home. And one of the staff members, while I was attempting to get a pair of work boots just to work in day labor jobs, I tried it for 30 days or more, and she had tears in her eyes. She started crying. She says, you know, Scooter, that's my nickname. She says, Scooter, we get clothing, we get blankets, we get food, we get hygiene kits, but we don't get shoes. We don't get footwear. So it was something that stuck with me. It was something I witnessed here in Seattle at one of the largest organizations here, of their shelves being empty day after day. So a year ago, we brought Redeeming Souls out and became an official nonprofit in June. We've done over 13,000 pair of shoes last year. We're looking at 50,000 pair this year to do. We've had excellent people come on board. Brooks Running Company is part of it. REI out here is part of it. Has come on board. Roadrunner Sports does a lot of collecting of shoes for us. So we're fast growing. I got another dream coming up. I'm going to be speaking at the Paramount Theater here in a month, which I didn't ever even think I'd even be able to see the inside. So it's been awesome.
That's a great story, isn't it? How long have you been in Seattle for now?
For a second, I guess.
Yeah, no, he's still listening.
I've been here for 2 years, just a little over 2 years in Seattle. It's been a real blessing. I've met a lot of great people. You know, I always had dreams. Go ahead.
Yeah, I basically worked with up there in Salt Lake City. I live right next to Lake City, and they have a huge hand out clothes and stuff like that all the time. You see them handing out coats for the winter, because people sit out here in tents and stuff like that in the winter. And when you're talking, we have 4 foot of snow here, and people are lying outside there without even coats and stuff like that. And so we have a group that brings tents and coats to people.
Yeah, that's awesome, Harold. It's well needed. I in particular didn't stay inside. There was many places that I could stay inside, but I chose to stay on the outside. I just used the tarp and a 0-degree sleeping bag, and always kind of I would even dig a snow cave sometimes if we got that much snow up on the foothills to stay in it. You stayed warm in it, so it was a lifestyle that I got used to. But it was a lifestyle I didn't know any better.
If I decide to be homeless, I'm going to. After living here, if I decide to be homeless, I'm going to do it in Florida or California. I'm not going to be homeless in Utah. And in the winter, it would be just horrible.
Yeah, the winters can be tough out there. I don't think they're as tough as what they used to be, Harold, but they are getting. You still get your snow there, and it can get really cold. That was the blessing to have the University of Utah there in the library. So I used that quite often. Many of the homeless did used to use it, but they found that they were just playing games and so forth on the computers, so they ended up banning quite most of the community there.
What's the reason most? Scott, let me ask you about the homeless. Because we hear a lot of cities, like with panhandling issues and stuff, and they'll, like New York City famously clamped down. How much of it is someone down on their luck? How much of it is a drug addiction or a mental issue? What's the best way when you see someone? How do you judge? Like you see folks, you'll leave a Walmart and someone has a sign up there, and you're torn between, is this person going to shoot up if I give them money, or are they going to buy food for their kids? And you don't know, and there's no selection criteria for that, and it's a quandary. You're like, am I enabling this person to do something bad for him or herself, or am I legitimately helping them? And is there any way to? I mean, there's no way to tell, I guess. But do you understand where I'm coming from here? Because that's a serious question that many of us have to face, right? What do you do?
Yeah, Dan, it is, and it's a tough one. You can't really judge them. Some of them truly do need help. Some of them are going to go right straight out and go buy their next fix. And the biggest share, if you see them there more than once in a week, they're using it for other things that they don't need to be using it for. They're doing a full-on living on it and just doing it that route. When I see a guy out there on the street and he wants some money, I'm normally asking if I can go buy him some food. Take him to a restaurant. If he truly wants the food, he's going to say yeah. 9 times out of 10, they're going to tell you, I don't want the food. So, you got to use your own judgment on that. Many times I know for a fact I've given cash to guys that are going right straight out to get their next fix. But, just use your own judgment as best as you can. Guide them towards other services available, service providers in your communities. Let them know where they can go get food. Let them know where they can go get clothing. In particular,
could you just repeat, Scott, where the shoes go to? Did you say they're shipped somewhere, or are they local? They don't go to like Third World or South America or somewhere?
I like that. No, they don't. They stay here in the Seattle area at this moment.
Okay.
That was the big need that I really saw. I mean, there's large organizations out there. Wayne Elsey runs a great one called Souls for Souls, and in fact, I've spoke to him a few times. And they send a lot of shoes overseas. Same with Tom's. They do a great job down there. But the big miss is local organizations in your own communities. In particular, here in Seattle, we have we have wet weather here, so the homeless population per se can go through shoes a pair every 2 or 3 weeks.
Because I remember reading about, can't remember the guy's name, but they were they're like little shoes like you slip on. Can't remember the name of it. And then for every pair you bought, which was $20 or whatever it is, and then the young guy got a truck or something and took them down to one of the South American countries, but I can't remember.
That's Tom's. Tom's Shoes started that. For every pair that they sell, they send out a pair of shoes to some third world country.
And then there was all these like colours of them. I can't remember the name. What's the name of the shoe? They're like a straw bottom, aren't they, with like a canvas top?
Yeah, that's Tom's Shoes.
Tom's Shoes, yeah.
Yeah, Tom's Shoes. Great organization. They do a lot of things to help out. But it's just being missed in our own communities, and that's what Redeeming Souls is about. We're starting here in Seattle, and as we grow, and supplies keep coming in, we'll start growing. We'll start networking out.
That's fantastic. I know that Harold does a lot of work with the Navajo, and I want to ask Harold the casino thing. There's lots of controversy all the time as Indian tribes or Native American tribes want to start these things. And my view is they were so screwed over. We basically killed most of them and stole their land, right? So my view is if they want to start a casino tribe or a casino facility or whatever, their kids should be educated in palaces after what they were, the hand they were dealt early on, but there's still a lot of controversy about this. What are your views on this? Because I think the way they were treated was just deplorable. It's a huge black mark on American history, much akin to the slavery period. What are your thoughts on this? Dealing with these folks, day in and day out.
Well, like I say, I've met with both presidents of the Navajo Nation, and the first one was President Shirley, and the reason they didn't have casinos is because they have the number one problem on the Navajo Nation is alcoholism, and that's almost all the crime and stuff like that is done because of the alcoholism. So they avoided that for many, many years, but right now they have a 50% unemployment rate on the nation, and they have a really high poverty level. So what they did is they actually started opening casinos on the Navajo Nation now, and the problem is, again, they have an addiction problem to casinos, and so over 50% of the people that go in the Navajo casinos are Navajos.
Do you think overall is it a plus or a negative? I mean, it's a fundraising source, but at the same time, who's paying?
It's a huge plus to the economy. The Navajo Nation has really strict rules about starting a business. One of the things I was just reading, if you start a business in most places, it takes 2 to 3 weeks of paperwork. For companies to start a business on the Navajo Nation, the average time is 3 years. And that's why there's no jobs and there's no employment on the Navajo Nation because of all the paperwork and stuff you have to go through. Nobody on the Navajo Nation owns property. Everybody who lives there is leased by the government. My friend Harry Benally, he has about 3 miles around his house that he owns, but it's a lease. He leases it from the government for 99 years. So all the people that are members of the Navajo Nation have leases, and the nation owns the property.
Is it corruption or just bureaucracy, or what's the deal? Because that seems insane. If you want to start a business, it takes 3 years. I mean, and this is America, right?
It's totally bureaucracy. It's just a horrible. I don't know why it hasn't changed, because when you have a 50% unemployment rate, you think you want to change something.
Interesting. This brings up another story that I saw. Reuters has a good story about it, talking about Walmart in Mexico. And the story is that someone who was involved in Walmart's biggest presence outside of the United States is in Mexico. And the allegation is that they spent millions and millions of dollars in bribes in order to build the stores in Mexico. And the charge is that the executives, Mike Scott and the new guy, both were aware of this, and that they didn't alert the authorities in Mexico or the United States that this was going on, instead just buried it. And so that's the story. And my first reaction was, isn't that the norm in some of these countries? Everybody does that. I remember I said this in a hangout the other day, that when we were in Africa, in Monrovia, Liberia, the fire department came. The building next door was literally on fire, and the fire department was standing around in front waiting for the owner, to come out and give them money to go in and fight the fire. I remember some of my classmates, I was in the 8th grade, they got driver's licenses in Liberia. They literally paid like $20 or $30 to the minister of transportation for the country, the cabinet member, would take bribes to give you a driver's license. India, rampant bribery going on. That's a big issue there politically, and in Pakistan, same thing. So it seems to me like in some of these developing countries, this is the norm. If you want to do something, even if it's good for the people and it's going to create jobs, you've got to, move that dash. You've got to, basically pay the right people to be able to do it. And frankly, that's, you can't expect American standards of behavior to be prevalent in every country in the world. And you're trying to start a business or grow a business, and that's kind of the, money makes the world go around in a sense. So, Mike, what do you think?
No, absolutely. Sorry, I'm to be honest, I was just distracted there. Can you just explain to me, as I'm very much a British person, of who Gary Johnson for President 2012 is? Is this guy running, or who is he? Because he's doing a hangout at the moment.
Gary Johnson.
The link's in the window, by the way. So just to explain to me, because American politics, and money and everything is one of those things I'm trying to understand at the moment.
Yeah, I think he was a Republican candidate.
Yes.
And
yes.
He went nowhere. And then he was constantly complaining about not being in the debates, but he was like, let me click on.
Yeah, there's a screen share of just what he looks like right there.
Yeah, I remember I sent him a message saying, friendly criticism, saying that I thought his constant whining about not being invited to the debates was not helping his cause, because I think he was like at 0.5% in the polls, and there are many candidates running for the Republican nomination for president. It's not just the ones you see on television, but you can't let anybody in. I mean, just like Hangouts, there's a limit of 10, right? Well, there may be 150 people watching a Google Plus week, or 100 people, or whatever, and maybe thousands will watch after the fact. If you let them all in the Hangout at the same time, how are you going to moderate any kind of conversation? And we both know, we all know that someone who's at 0.5% just has virtually no chance of actually being the nominee. So why spend time with them and detract from the candidates who have a chance? That said, we saw many people that we wrote off, Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum, and the guy...
There's a few names there for you, Dan.
The Nines.
See those.
Yeah, there you go. But the guy, Herman Cain, all of them rose to the top of the polls based on their debate performances. So that's an interesting question. Is it fair to exclude people? And I guess he's a former congressman, right? Or a governor or something?
No idea.
Gary Johnson?
He's a governor, I think.
New Mexico.
Okay, so he's a former governor, so he's, he's not just some crackpot by any means. So it's interesting. On the one hand, it makes sense to exclude someone who has no chance of winning based on their poll performance, so you can spend more time with the candidates who do have a chance of winning, so people can make an intelligent choice. That said, the other side of the coin is that we saw Herman Cain, Newt Gingrich, and Rick Santorum all rise to the top of the polls for a period during the process, and Rick Perry as well. All four of those guys rose to the top of the polls based on their debate performances, and it turns out that they couldn't, sustain that. So it's going to be Mitt Romney, which was predicted, for the last 3 years. So you can argue either way. But I just thought he was just, all of his posts seemed to just been constantly whining that he wasn't in the debates, and I was like, well, there has to be some kind of cutoff point. You can't let 5 million people play in the Masters golf tournament if they haven't demonstrated up to that point that they, are a good enough golfer to have a chance at it. So, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think the British thing was really interesting. Did you hear about the alternative vote thing that they were trying to push through a while ago? It was rejected in the end. Did you hear about that?
I did not. Can you tell us?
No, yeah, I think if I understand it right, and that is that if you had, rather than just be a democratic vote, you actually had a first round, and so let's say there were 10 candidates, and then whoever got it, then 2 would go, then people re-voted, and then you would do this mathematical equation, which would eventually get some kind of, winner. But it was a bit like saying... I think the alternative vote idea, and I probably got this really wrong, is to say who do you want first, then second, then third, then fourth, and then they would actually do it through a series of mathematics. You know, so it's like anything, isn't it? Like if you want to go to the cinema, which choice would you like to have first, second, and then third? And then they kind of eliminate the backs and then carry on again. That's one of the things that it was rejected anyway. But then again, it's still. Do you have the same thing in the US with you know, the proportional representation? You know, I don't understand. I mean, it's such a big country, isn't it, the US? In other words, rather than actually one person, one vote, but you have these wards and boundaries and things. So one of the things that's going locally to me in the UK is that in the next election in 2014, they might decide geographically to cut off, you know, some towns to some, like the Houses of Parliament, you have a load of seats. So one member of Parliament, let's say, was elected this time with, say, 2 to 3 towns with, let's call it 150,000 people, then the same seat might be up in 3 years' time or 2 years' time. But this time they've changed the boundaries and the populations. So if you were going to vote for that member of Parliament, next time round you might have a different guy because your postcode is slightly a different idea. So I could sit here on my side of the street, vote for one guy, but the person opposite me are in a different postcode, you know, like your zip code, and therefore they go to someone else. And so anyway, this
is the way we do it here. But what happens is the state, that's why it's really important for the state elections, because the state elections draw the boundaries for the congressional districts. So the way we have it here is each state has 2 senators, and then they have representative based on populations. For instance, the state of Utah has 4 representatives. They just received the 4th representative because their population increased. But the party that is in charge of the state makes the boundaries so that their people can get elected easier.
Well complicated.
Well, in America, I mean, there's different. It depends on what state you're in, and you go through different. There's gerrymandering, which is drawing lines, and I think the first instance of this was, I forget who it was. It was Patrick Henry in Virginia, I think, and they gerrymandered this crazy district to keep him from winning Congress. It was the 5th Congressional District in Virginia, which still exists and has Charlottesville in it. What they do is, you know, the state legislature, because in Virginia, like, we have small states and we have really big states. Delaware, New Hampshire, little tiny states, and then there's like California and Texas. And the old Virginia, before they split it up in the Civil War, was a huge state. So in order to get people to join the Union, because it was a confederacy initially, they created this system where the Senate, every state is equal, and the little tiny states have 2 senators, and the giant states have 2 senators. And then the House of Representatives is proportionate. So California has tons of congressmen. And like a little tiny state like New Hampshire would have 1 congressperson. So in order for a bill to become a law in America, both houses of Congress have to pass it and the president has to sign it. So that way you get the little tiny states and the big states are equal. They all have to pass it in the Senate, and then the big states have more influence in the House. That also has to pass it. So it seems kind of fair. And then the way we elect our president is not by popular vote, because famously Al Gore won the popular vote but lost the presidency because he didn't win the right states. And the way that we do the Electoral College for president is each state gets a number of electors equal to the House representatives plus the Senate senators. So New Hampshire would have 3 electors, and California would have however many congressmen plus senators they have. So that's the way it works. You can argue pro or con, but it was basically a method to convince the small states to join the Union because they were afraid that they wouldn't have any influence against the big states. So that's how we've evolved.
Yeah, and also the very first one of that was Nixon had more votes than Kennedy in that election.
Yeah, I know it wasn't the first time, but it's interesting. Yeah. And every country is different. Like in the UK, I remember when I was there, Maggie Thatcher was prime minister, and then she got the poll tax was the first real big open protest. You know, can't pay, won't pay. the young people protesting about the poll tax, and then there was basically a vote of confidence, and I think she won it, but barely. And
she did, but it was the bit where she came out of the building. Do you remember running down the stairs, with a handbag in her hand, saying something famously, and yeah, no, she resigned after that, didn't she? I think.
Yeah, she resigned, and in America that wouldn't happen. I mean, if the way it works in the UK, of course, is the prime minister is not directly elected.
What? Who said that?
The prime minister is not directly elected. I mean, it's elected by one district, but it's not nationally elected.
Well, he's the lead. No,
he's the leader of your party. It's the equivalent of if the Speaker of the House in America were the head of state. That's the equivalent.
What? Sorry, I'm confused. Let's start again. You're saying that the UK Prime Minister is not elected as a Prime Minister?
Not nationally elected. They elect the party. I mean, whoever has a majority or forms a coalition, the head of that party or coalition becomes the Prime Minister. It's not like everyone in the UK votes, for Cameron.
No, absolutely. So that's what happened, didn't it? Because Gordon Brown, the previous Prime Minister, was still resident in 10 Downing Street and wouldn't get out. And that was when there was lots of backroom meetings to form that coalition, which is quite rare. And then Cameron just happens to be. So in theory, you could have the election, and David Cameron could lose his seat as which never happens, but it could happen. He could lose his seat as a Member of Parliament and therefore have a massive majority of the Conservative Party in the UK, but he personally has lost his seat, so therefore they have to elect a new leader, and that leader becomes the Prime Minister.
Correct, but in America, every citizen gets to vote on president, whereas in the UK, it's the head of the majority party or the head of the coalition. Usually it's the head of the majority party. In Italy, of course, it would be the head of the coalition. But so you could have a quick change like that, where the head of state. Well, I guess in the UK, of course, the Queen is the head of state. But it's just really interesting systems, and they both. In fact, even though we have our system. And
do you know a little known fact?
The Japanese government, of course, the modern Japanese government and Constitution was set up by MacArthur and the United States government. We actually set up a parliamentary system there, as opposed to a system like ours, which is interesting.
There's a trivia question that came out, and I couldn't believe the answer, but I think I've got it roughly right. And it says, years and years ago, the King or the Queen of England had like a daily or a weekly report from the then Prime Minister. Do you think it still goes on today? And everybody sort of said no, it's a true-false type statement. But I believe I'm right in saying, and I need to look this up, that the Prime Minister has to report to the Queen once a week, even now, to say kind of like, how's the country going and stuff like that, which I think is just fantastically British. And very good.
I love it. I love I mean, they're criticized, but I love the monarchy. I think it dates back to Queen Victoria and King Henry VIII. I mean, they have such a rich, checkered past, but a rich history. And
for me, when the wedding of Prince William and Kate happened in the summer, I thought that was absolutely fantastic. The amount of media attention, outside Buckingham Palace, and then you had, the flyover and that I think it was a B-52 bomber or some bomber came over Buckingham Palace. Amazing. And then he borrows his dad's, Prince Charles, did you see it? The Aston Martin, the convertible that he drives out of Buckingham Palace with.
I think it's great. I mean, they're a fairy tale couple. Yeah. He's a good-looking guy, and she's a beautiful young lady, and they both play their roles very well. I think it's good for the monarchy. And of course, you hear all this talk, about should we skip and go right to William, but I think Charles will do a good job as king. And then
did you see the photo shoot a couple of days later where they didn't have a honeymoon, did they? And then William went back to Anglesey in Wales and was flying his, seeking helicopters for a search and rescue. And then Kate was photographed in Waitrose, which is a British supermarket, quite a good, supermarket, with an empty trolley pushing it along the car park, going to get the weekly shopping. I thought it was just fantastic.
I remember the power of that. There was a controversy in America. I guess it's the same thing in the UK, because I think the Salvation Army actually began in the UK, didn't it? But in the United States, the Salvation Army at the shopping malls, they'll set up these barrels for people to donate money close to Christmas time, and then they ring their bells, and they, to hopefully get you to put some money, a couple of quid in the barrel. And there was a mall in Virginia, I think Springfield Mall or Tyson's Corner, and they said that in order to spruce up their image, they weren't going to allow the Salvation Army to set up their donation bins that year. So Barbara Bush, who was First Lady at the time, the first Bush, the senior Bush's wife, she didn't say anything about it, but she had her motorcade. She made a point the next day. Her motorcade went up to a shopping mall or shopping center, and she made a point to stop the motorcade with all the press in tow, and she got out of her car, her limousine, and she walked up to the Salvation Army person, and she put some money in the kettle and said, "Thanks so much for what you do." And then got back in her car and drove off with the motorcade and the press in tow. And, of course, it was massive news. And I was just like, that is so awesome. She, without saying a word, and, of course, the mall immediately retracted and said, oh, there'll be 3 of them at every entrance now, And I just thought that was so fantastic, that the power of that bully pulpit was just excellent. And it was a great use of that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that speaks volumes, doesn't it, with some people?
Oh, it's wonderful.
Fantastic.
Well, listen, guys, I've got to get ready. I've got a local show I got to do, but I want to thank Scott. It was a great story, and I want to get Scott on again to go more in depth on his project. Once again, what's the best website, Scott, for folks who want to get more information on Redeeming Souls?
RedeemingSouls.org, and that's SOLES. Thanks, Dan, and love to be on your show, and just been hooking up with Sarah Hill also, possibly going on there in a couple weeks too. And it's great to hear from Amanda Blaine last night too. I'm looking forward to Friday's show to hear more about her. And your wedding.
Oh, I'd forgotten. Yeah, Amanda Blaine and I are going to get married, I think. I missed a meeting. Yeah, so that'll be fun. And then Mike Downs, what's the best website for folks who want to hook up with you, either on your own site or Google Plus, either way?
I think it's got to be just plus Mike Downs. Is the one that I've always pointed. I'm a big advocate of the brand of me, or the brand of the person, me.
And that's Mike Downs, DOWNES.
But what I would say, it's actually on YouTube / of the Mike Downs page, which is my main YouTube channel, which, as we know, those lucky people with On Air at the moment have got a big boost to have a live YouTube channel. So the other thing that's doing the buzz at the moment is Mike Downs Media, which is just one way of me sort of putting it all into one packet, really. But Mike Downs, DOWNES.
And, of course, Mike has a great video up of his studio setup, which just really is impressive. It's fantastic equipment. It's an impressive bit of kit.
I'd like to see your one, Dan, of every USB that you have around, and that would be like the long version, won't it? For like the 3.5-hour version.
I hope that one of those metal scrappers doesn't ever encounter my studio, because they'll have a field day gathering up all the copper in here. Harold, Carey, what's the best way for folks who want to hook up with you on Google Plus or your own website?
Just on Google Plus, it's just Harold Carey. But what my big thing is to help the Navajo people, and so my 2 websites are Navajo Arts, which help the Navajo artists and promote them, and Navajo People. The Navajo People is made to help the Navajo culture and keep it going so they don't lose their language and culture.
Awesome. That's great. Really diverse, interesting hangout today. Lots of opinions, lots of thoughts. And then the groveling, let's see here. Hey, great story. This is for Scott, I guess. Hey, great story. You never know who's going to end up as a homeless person, and it's kind of sad to watch that people think that homeless people aren't even human beings, like the South Park episode. Yeah, it's a tough issue, as Scott and I discussed. Trying to decide, do I put money in here? Where's that going to go? If I knew it's going to help, and I tend to give money, but then you always worry. I don't know. I'm not sure what the answer is. It's something that every society struggles with, how to deal with this effectively, to help the people, either in terms of like physically helping them with food and stuff like that, versus helping them get into a treatment program if that's the cause of their homelessness. So it's an issue that I'm glad that folks like Scott are willing to spend a lot of time and effort in helping these folks, because the old saying, there but by the grace of God go I. So anyway, folks, thanks for watching, thanks for participating, and that is this.
One question.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, there's only a question to you, Dan, in that for me personally to find you as well is that you do your Friday night. For me, it's Friday night, but I think it's 5 p.m. isn't it, Eastern, Google Plus week. And I've seemed to spot from you doing, is it a daily or every other day, the top of the news hour? What is that one called? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing it every day. I'm calling it now, I think I'm just saying news and tech, because you only have so much space on the live YouTube channel. When you go to youtube.com/live or on the Hangouts to watch thing, you got to be very brief. And so I'm just calling it news and tech.
Yeah, 22 characters, isn't it, for those watching?
Yeah, or maybe like today, I think it says, let me see what it says. I'm saying Sunday news and tech.
This show will be about, and that's all you get, isn't it? 22 characters.
Yeah, it says Sunday news and tech, but if I was longer than that, it just chops it, and the same thing on YouTube Live. So you've got to be
If
brief.
you hover it, though, Dan, it does actually go up to a longer version. You just mouse hover it, and it will go up to as long as you want, apparently.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I don't see that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, just hover over it, and it's a pop-up.
Now, so just have your first 3 keywords, and then you can have a longer after that.
Yeah,
Dan
Justin
speaks.
Bieber, Lady Gaga.
Yeah, and then
For
that's it.
SEO. But yeah, this was awesome. It's so neat to. We had folks in the Netherlands, in Jordan, in the UK, and watching and interacting with us. And
I've been threatening to hold a hangout called The History of the Quadratic Equation for those people who might want to know a bit of maths, and it's one of those shaggy dog stories where we could actually talk for a while and just interrupt each other and then talk about x's and y's and b squareds and plus c's and mx. Do you remember that back from your trig days back in the school days? Did you ever do that, anybody?
I did that stuff. I think Khan Academy better up his game, right? Because he's got someone chopping at his heels, right?
Well, if I make a video of how quadratic equations, just like that tech one I did today, then that'll be a good, solving it with a piece of string and a bit of sticky tape, maybe.
Sounds like a ratings bonanza, to be sure. You'll have to be the featured guest that week on Google Plus Week. Hey, thanks guys so much. It was a pleasure as always to hang out with you, and it was great to meet new people tonight.
You're supposed to go like this, make a little love sign or something.
Oh yeah, what do we do for Dan? It's like that.
Yeah,
is it a Dan? Is it like that? Is it a Dan?
love sign
Or is it
for
a Dan?
Dan.
Which one is it? Is it like that?
This is Taylor Swift's. This is what Taylor Swift does on her thing.
Yeah,
My
but
crazy
four
friend.
guys doing love signs to each other inside, with Dan McDermott is a little bit not so great, is
No,
it?
it's in honor of Justin Bieber being the trending topic, right? You have to.
Yeah.
Is that how he does it? I don't know. Oh well. All right.
End the show, Dan. Get out.
Yeah.
End the show.
Goodbye. This is the high side. We'll do this.
Cool like that.
Have a good day, everyone.
Good night,
Bye-bye.
guys. Have a great Sunday, and we'll see you tomorrow, if not sooner or whatever. Have a great day. We'll see you Friday,
Signing off.
8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, midnight GMT for Google.
1 a.m. It's 1 a.m. GMT.
It's 1 a.m. now. That's right.
Yeah, and then you don't start it till 2, do you? After Mike checks.
Well,
And people having a go at you, and where's
serious charge.
I love that, where Eric Rice and they're all sitting there going, and all clearing their throat and that before you're going to speak.
Luckily, I have no ego, because if I did, I would be in big trouble, because these guys are merciless with me. Hey, thanks, guys. Love you all. Have a great Sunday, and talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, thanks for all the watchers and commenters.